Considering how busy I was, I actually had quite a good reading month in January. I read 8.5 books, that half is all important, and they were all really good. I read 4 of the 5 books in my January TBR. I didn't read Cassandra Clare's City of Ashes because there were just so many other things that I wanted to read. So 4 from last month's TBR and an additional 4.5, so not bad. Let's get on with having a look at them. The first book I read in January and 2014 was Unearthly by Cynthia, which I read mostly at Istanbul airport during a 5-hour layover. It was actually quite an entertaining way to spend my time there, and although it's not wildly original, I do think I'll be reading the later books to find out what happens. It's about a girl called Clara who is part angel, which is something she finds out before the book begins, but as the book begins she is starting to have visions of a boy she doesn't know in a place she's never been, and he is seemingly at risk of dying in a forest fire. Clara senses that this is her purpose. All angels have a purpose, and it's not something they can deny. They have to fulfill it. So she and her family uproot to a new town, a new school, and new friends, and more, of course. There is a love triangle in this, but after really sort of writing it off as your typical insta-love in the beginning, I felt like the author was playing with us a little bit, because she gave us all that expectation and then she kind of drew back a little bit, and while the object of that insta-love was absent, something else was given room to develop, and I actually don't know how this love triangle is going to pan out, and it's actually one of the reasons why I think I'll read on. The characters were good. Again, it's not anything wildly original, and it's actually a simple plot. Aside from that love triangle, there's good and evil, you've got good angels and bad. The bad ones are called the Black Wings, and this girl, actually, considering all the books I've been reading where the heroine is, I don't know, really downtrodden, she's actually pretty lucky in this. She has a very nice life, but perhaps that means that we're in for some darker days in the books ahead. Who knows? I'm hopeful. I have written a review for this on my blog where I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I'll link that below. And yeah, if you'd like a nice coming-of-age story with some angelic elements, then this one might be the one for you. The next book I read is the second book in the Star-Crossed trilogy by Josephine Angelini. I spoke about the first book, Star-Crossed, in my January TBR, so I'll link that below. Plus, I have a written review for that as well, which I'll link below, sensing a theme here. Dreamless really picks up the pace of Star-Crossed, and the character development of our protagonist, Helen, is actually pretty extreme. She goes through a lot in this book. She literally goes to hell every night in her dreams, or are they? Yeah, she's got some trials ahead of her, and powers are developing, really cool powers too. There is a love triangle that appears in this book, which I, like many other reviewers, think is completely unnecessary. I do really love the character of Orion, but we all know who she's going to end up with, so why introduce the conflict? It's not even conflict, really, is it? I really liked this. I'm excited about the next book, which is Goddess. I have all sorts of theories about what's going to happen, and I would like to see if they pan out, so I can recommend this series. The third book I read was The Selection by Kiera, and I have a whole video where I talk about this, so I'll link that below, and again, a written review, which I'll link below. Oh, it did not deliver on the expectations I held based on the covers, which are so amazing and do not belong on a Kindle and don't even belong on crappy school shelves like those. One day I will have these books simply because they're beautiful, and I will pretend that this one is better than I found it to be. I only gave it 3.5 stars out of 5. And I don't know if that was unfair, because it's not the book's fault that I had all these expectations. I thought it was going to be cleverer than it was. I thought there was going to be more social commentary than there was, and I did not care about the love triangle. There's always love triangles. Why? Why always love triangles? I didn't care about either of the relationships, either of the pairings. But I do kind of like the girl, although she gets a little bit irritating. And the whole process, the bachelor-style process of the selection, I did like that. And also just the premise. The premise is so good, and that's what made me think the execution of it was going to be a bit better than I think it actually is. Obviously, if you disagree, everyone's opinions are different. I've heard some really not that great things about the elites. Apparently, what are you called? What are you called? America. The girl is called America. Apparently she becomes more annoying in the elite. So I haven't rushed to pick that one up yet, but I will. I will. Now for my favourite of the month. The 4th book I read in January was Cinder by Marissa Meyer, and oh my god, I loved it so much. It's about a girl called Cinder, and she is cyborg. And as such, she's literally the property of her stepfamily. She has the wicked stepmother, and she has stepsisters, although she actually is very fond of one of them. It's in a dystopian world where there is a plague running riot and intergalactic politics and the threat of a war with a lunar race, and it's obviously a retelling of Cinderella, and trying to find all those sort of fairy tale props from the original, like the shoe, the coach, is really entertaining because they're dressed so differently in this version. Cinder is an amazing protagonist. She has a cyborg hand and foot and part of her leg. Oh, I just remembered I have a video review for this one, which I'll link below. Oh my god, there's going to be so many links. I'll link that below because this is so good and it deserves more time. You definitely have to read this book. Once you've read Cinder by Marissa Meyer, you are definitely going to want to read Scarlet, which is what I read immediately after. Scarlet follows basically Little Red Riding Hood, and again trying to spot the cape and the wolf and just, oh god. I said in my written review for Cinder, which again I'll link below, I'm just going to stop saying that now. I said that if I was a zombie, I would want to eat Marissa Meyer's brain. It's so good. I'm so excited about this series. I pre-ordered Cress, and yesterday I had word from Book Depository that it was processing now, although technically it's not out for a couple of days, so maybe that just means it's going to process for a couple of days. Anyway, I'm so excited. This series is awesome. Read it, read it, read it, read it, read it, read it. The 6th book I read was Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, and if I can figure out how people do that magical floaty picture thing on the side of the video, then I will try to do the same thing. If I can't, then these are some nail scissors. I'm just going to put those down. We don't need those. Right, so Shadow and Bone was really good. I hope I can do the picture thing because the cover is gorgeous. Very Russian influenced. The story is a fantasy one. It's about a girl called Alina who has gone through life being pretty useless at everything and very pale and sickly at that. But when her best friend Mal, since childhood, is in danger of dying, she kind of discovers that she's a lot more special than she knew, and special in rather a dangerous way. Her specialness draws the attention of the Darkling, who is the very character that inspired me to read this book in the first place. People have been talking about the Darkling so much, and I really like my slightly corrupted love interests, aka Warner from Shatter Me by Tahara Mafi. Love him, so I thought I'd give this a go, and true enough, I do love Darkling a lot. Don't really like Mal though. I'm sick of these insipid, safe, romantic characters. But this is a really good book. It's about, I forget what the world is called, I'm so sorry, but essentially it's placed in a world where Shadowland has opened up called the, is it called the Rift? The Rift, I think. And people who go in there are usually eaten by these cannibalistic monsters that live within that shadow. And Erlina may be the only person who can help to eliminate that shadow for good and bring safety to the land. But I can't really tell you more than that, other than it's a really well written book. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I don't know why I haven't started the second one actually. I think maybe I still have a little bit of anxiety about how it's going to go. Maybe I don't quite trust that it's going to continue to be that good yet. I don't know. Alina is a really good character. There are these people in the story called the Grisha who have special abilities that usually mean that they go into a particular group. So there's the people who can burn things, the people who make things. Alina has her own group. Well, she's the only one in that group. Like, the Darkling is the only one in his, so she's very special. And, oh my god, I have 5 minutes left to finish this video. It's such an injustice to rush through this one, but I also read Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, and it is just as wonderful as everyone is saying. The description of the protagonist, Selena Sardothian, as strong and girly, but also an assassin, made me think, oh god, this does not sound good. How are they going to juggle those balls? But I totally see it now, and it is believable that she's a killer, because especially in the first half, she talks about squishing people's eyeballs under her boots, and she's always looking at an angle of how to kill people, and I really appreciated that. I keep watching the Bookish Academy Award videos. I'm loving those, by the way. Great tag. And I so understand why she is the best female lead, because she is so amazing. This is a great, great trilogy. Is it going to be a trilogy? And it kind of is a bit greedy because it has a lot of elements in there, like magic and... Oh, I need to formulate my thoughts a bit more on you, don't I? Suffice to say, it's really good. I'm probably going to do a separate video on it, and yes, it's about a girl called Selena. She's only 18 years old, but she's been in prison for a year, a very bad prison at that, or just sort of doing manual labour at a detention camp since she was 17. Her past, we don't really find out fully about in this book, although there's kind of a lot of hints at it, which means that the second book is going to be really informative, I think. And some really great male leads as well. And the fight scenes are really good. I kind of felt that they chickened out with the tests. Basically, Selena is competing to be the King's champion and earn her freedom after 4 years of service. But to do that, she has to defeat a bunch of other potential champions, and I kind of felt that the tests that she had to go through to make it to the final weren't all that impressive after the lead-up, but the final battle lasted for a long time. A long time. Many pages. So, yeah, my phone's vibrating. That means I'm late for work. Hang on. If I look a bit dishevelled or more dishevelled than I looked a minute ago, it's because I just ran outside where someone is supposed to be picking me up for work, but they're not there, so something has gone wrong. Which means I have a couple more minutes to tell you about what I'm reading now. I don't know why I'm doing this to you. It's just to say don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. I'm reading Of Poseidon by Anna Banks, which, for a change, is a mermaid story. I've only finished 50% of it so far, so I'll probably put it into my next wrap-up, but really enjoying it. Oh god, I feel like I should probably just redo this whole thing another day when I can do these books justice, but I never have enough daylight hours. Never. So, think, Kelly, is there anything else? I hope not, because I'm going to go now. I had a really great reading month, and I'm hoping to have an even better one this month, not next month, this month. And I think it's going to be quite a romantic month, romantic reads, because it's going to be Valentine's Day, and, you know, I feel a bit in need of some romance. So, yeah. So expect my February TBR. Why am I out of breath? Why am I out of breath? Expect my February TBR as soon as possible, and thank you very much for watching. Sorry it's so scattered, but I hope you had a great reading month in January, that you have a great reading month in February, and I don't know what I'm doing with my arms, but bye-bye. I swear, when the sun decides to set, it just buggers off completely. Hold your horses, I'm not finished. If I look a bit dishevelled or a bit more dishevelled, I just had to run outside because I'm meant to be being picked up for work 10 minutes ago, but something's gone wrong. My phone isn't working because I'm too cheap to put credit on it, so... Anyway, let me finish this up. The book I'm reading at the moment is called Of Poseidon by Anna Banks, and it's a mermaid story, which makes a change. I've read pretty much everything out there in terms of character. I need to... The book I'm reading right now and have finished 50% of is Of Poseidon by Anna Banks, which is a I was going to say a murder story. Murder! It's murder! My magic murder bag. Look into my magic murder bag.